Talk about groups, we talk about picking their content and our type that we want to go after, I want to present some questions to you that might help you pick this out. First is there something that God has already laid on your heart that you feel like you need to be leading on right now? And if that's the case, then you already really know which way to go. You can listen to the rest of this video, but then also hop into the next as we talk about, narrowing down the details of your group, the when, the where, and the how that we're going to be talking about in the following video. But for those of you who maybe you're still trying to figure out, like, what does that next step look like of choosing the type of group and also the content for the group, let me lay out to you the three main categories first that I tend to put groups into, just to help organize it and make sure that we kind of have a structure at our own church for where these groups fit and how they might play out. And then we're going to talk about how to choose the type of group and even the content for that group. We tend to put groups into three categories, such as discipleship or spiritual growth. One may be outreach or mission. And then the third kind of category that we put into is going to be community or activity. We see all of these different types of groups working together, helping people, again, from where they are to where God is calling them to be in this next season. And we just don't know what a person needs at this time in their life. Do they need to be sent out and doing outreach, learning how to serve, engaging with God in mission? Perhaps they just need new community, Christian community, people who they can be real with and just get to know new people in a church because they don't have good, healthy community, and this is the first step. Or it may be that they're ready to grow. They're ready to learn how to read their Bible. They're ready to learn how to pray. They're ready to learn about the book of James or some different topic in order to help them grow spiritually. Whatever the case is, those are the three categories that I like to lay it out in. And so in discipleship or spiritual growth, that category, we might have Bible studies, book studies, sermon discussions, which are really easy to do and still very growth oriented, but also bring a lot of connection. We may have prayer nights, devotionals in the morning, men's groups, women's groups, marriage groups, all different types of groups that are more growth oriented through different formats like Bible studies, book studies, discussions, devotionals, and whatnot. Let me just mention that with groups, these are more discussion oriented groups. Whatever the content is going to be, it's still going to be discussion oriented. Also then, when we talk about the outreach or mission groups, these are groups that are going to go out to do some kind of serve project to show the love of God to their community. This could be street preaching. This could be helping people, displaced families in motels. It could be serving the homeless, the poor, the hungry, wherever there is a food bank, some kind of opportunity like that. And this group's going to meet regularly together as a team, as a group to serve. That third category that I talked about earlier being the community or activity groups, I like to focus more on the community because that's the heart behind it and it resonates better with people. But this could be groups like fishing, hiking, knitting, walking, running, swimming, playing cornhole. The sky's the limit, but it's just an opportunity again for people to get connected, to go from new to known, and to build fresh new community that's going to help them engage in their walk with Christ. Now that we've talked a little bit about the different types of categories of groups that you could be a part of leading or your church may have, let's talk about how to discern, how to determine what type of group you want to be a part of creating or starting this next semester. One way I like to look at it is like, where's the void? If you were to sit back and, again, we're all team members in church, we are the church, like looking at the void, what do you feel like right now your home community is missing? Where do you feel like you guys are weak in an area that you could also be a part of bringing a strength of yours to help people grow? The reason I say that is because, listen, there's no such thing as a perfect church or a church that has it all. And if God's already put on your heart to lead a group, why not first consider, is there a void at my church that I can be a part of helping them with so that people aren't falling through the cracks? At some churches right now, that void is just going to be connection because you already know that there's people going in and out of your doors and people haven't connected with them. People haven't done more than just shaken their hand and said, hey, welcome. You know that people are going in and out without having been invited to the dinner table, to lunch, to coffee, in order to be able to share their story or hear a story and be engaged with. And you may say, like, you know what, right now, if we could just get people connecting with one another, a sense of family and community, then our church would be so much deeper and growth would begin to happen. Perhaps you feel like, hey, you know what, we're so church oriented. It's all about us all the time. And we're always doing groups. It's like little cliques everywhere. And you realize we need to be more missional in our own community. The church isn't just meant to be inside the walls of a building. The church is alive and the church is growing. It's an organism and it is ever reaching. There's an opportunity perhaps for you to be a part of prayerfully considering, how can I create a group that solves a need in my own community that shows the love of God, and then rally people around for that. Then also, when we talk about discipleship or spiritual growth groups, you may realize, hey, you know what? We lack opportunity for guys to really be around one another and to challenge each other, to have hard conversations, to pray with one another, or women to be around other ladies that can really talk about the struggles that they're going through in life and be able to encourage one another, or married couples who need that focus on marriage to be real about where they're at so that they grow, because they're already on the brink of divorce and there's no space for them to get help. There's a lot of different areas that you could consider. In discipleship, it could be a matter of just making sure that when people give their lives to Jesus in your church, who makes sure that they actually know where to start. We oftentimes hand them a Bible or we have them get baptized, but there could be an opportunity to help them go through a series of topics like how to read your Bible, who Jesus is, why was Jesus needing to go to the cross in the first place, what is all of that about, how to pray. There's awesome books and content out there, and that leads me to the next phase. Once you've talked about your type, be it discipleship, spiritual growth, outreach, mission, or community activity, you can consider what it is that you want to focus in on. Like, what excites you, or what is God putting on your heart to teach on or to facilitate? It might be a book study on James. It could be a book study like Crazy Love or Not a Fan. Maybe it's, again, like we talked about earlier, that focus is street preaching, taking people out, sharing the gospel with people in your community. Or when we talk about the community-oriented ones, like, what's something that lights you up? For me, one of my friends and I, we just did a summer semester about cornhole and barbecue. And so we'd bring out the grill, invite people to bring food, and we had cornhole boards set up. And we just had an awesome time hanging out with friends and getting connect one another. And let me just throw this out there. Summer groups are a great time to do more community-oriented ones, get people connected. It's an easy way for new people, even in your church, to jump in and then use that time and space to get to know one another, and then inviting them into your group or another group that's going to be more growth-oriented in the fall. Here are some other items to consider when picking your type of group, when picking the content for your group, and that is, like, is this a topic or a type of group that you're going to be able to commit to? Are you going to be able to show up on time? Are you going to be able to teach it well and lead it well, feel confident as you do it? Also, do you have enough time? Our church, we do semesters, and I'm a huge fan of semesters. I share more about semesters and the reason, the model behind that in another video. You can check that out. But essentially, we do a spring group, a summer semester, and then also a fall semester, and we have a 1 month break between each one of those that allows for promotion and signups, and then they all launch. And what you see is that, like, in the spring and fall, there's usually about 13 weeks or so, and then in summer there might be more, 6-8 weeks. And it's important that you also consider, do you have enough time to do all that needs to be done or needs to be taught or read for a specific group? You may realize, like, hey, I just have to adapt it and tweak it and do it creatively, but consider the time required and make sure that you can commit and that you can also follow through so that people, as they jump in, aren't left hanging and you can wrap up really well. When we talk about picking content or the type of group, I realize, like, it's often, we start with what is it that I am really interested in or I feel God leading me to, but I also want to encourage you, put yourself in the shoes of others and the people, consider your demographic and your audience. There's things that I love that I'm really passionate about talking on. It could be theology or it could even be community stuff. Like, I loved going fly fishing. However, in my community, there's just not a strong enough group of people that are interested in fly fishing or even have fly fishing poles. And so when we talk about choosing one, I need you to be real. Be real with yourself about the fact that if you pick a really narrow interest, be it theologically or even an activity, that there might not be enough signups to really be able to do the group the way that you wanted to in the first place. And if that's the case, that's okay. As long as you're real with that, you're upfront with that, and you recognize if you have a smaller group than expected, if you can still do it that way, that's awesome. But it may be worth kind of considering, are there enough people interested in this one topic to do this well? Sometimes you're not going to know if there are enough people interested in that topic until you put it out there. There are ways to put it out there without going on full launch. One is just letting people know on social media, hey, I'm interested in leading a group on snowboarding or on eschatology. Is anybody else interested on that out there? And that's a real easy way just to do some beta work and to feel it out, test it out before you do a full-on launch and commit to something for a number of weeks. It is important that you understand your church's semester base or calendar schedule when you're doing this. It's so much better to work with your church because they're also prayerfully trying to figure out how to get people connected and growing in their walk with God too. And so before you begin to plan a group or lead a group, make sure that you've checked in with your church and that you're a part of doing this with them so that you guys are one big team running in the same direction together with as much energy and unity as possible. The last way to consider the type of group and also the content for your group is going to be taking time to pray about it. So write out all the questions. I want you to consider the answers to the questions that I brought up in this video, and then take this to God, take time to sit on it, to reflect, maybe even talk to some people about it that you've been wondering if they'd be a part of the same group idea, and then prayerfully make this decision and then get ready to commit. Now that we've covered the type and the content, the focus, let's get ready to narrow down the details, the when, the where, and the how we're going to do this specific group in the next video. Thank you for watching this video on small groups. I'm so excited to share everything that I've learned with you and also to learn from you. Here's the thing, I want to encourage you. Let me know any questions that you have about small groups or related to any video that you watch in the comments, and I will reply, and or I might even consider making a video just for that question because it's so good. Also, I love learning, and if you have a best practice that has worked really well for you or people that you know or people that you've seen lead in your church environment, go ahead and share that in the comment because we can learn from you as well. That being said, please subscribe to my channel. You can hit the subscribe button. There's a little bell icon. Hit that for notifications if you want the newest videos on how to be mission-minded and disciple-making right where you are at and God has placed you.